of you out there. I wanted to start this review off by answering a few burning questions you might have as you see the topic of this video. First of all, last weekend, I was greeted by a surprise I did not see coming at all. My family got together and decided to surprise me with the PlayStation 5 last weekend. Even a week later, as I get this review ready for all of you, I'm still quite shocked they were able to pull this surprise off to perfection. I noticed on the box it mentioned that there was a pre-installed game, so I was curious to check it out. After the initial PS5 setup, you're able to play this charming little game called Astro's Playroom. It's almost like the studio wanted to make a tech demo for the PS5 and the DualSense controller, and then it morphed into its own 3 to 6 hour long game. The reason why I give it that range is because you can play all the levels in about 3 hours or so, but it takes just as much time going back a second time and finding all the collectibles. Go ahead and tack on a few more hours if you want to 100% complete the game, for the Platinum Trophy. So during this review, you'll see some gameplay I captured on the PS5 of various stages of the game, so you get to see some of what I got to experience for yourself while I give this game a proper review. When I review games, I'm not going to be concerned about giving this game a grade or anything like most of the reviews you see. Instead, I want to tell you what this game has to offer and what makes this game stand out. With that being said, let's begin. So the whole idea of Astro's Playroom is that it takes you inside of the PlayStation 5 you just got finished setting up, and it gives you a tour of some of the technology inside of the console. The game is subdivided into 4 worlds, each of them having 4 stages apiece. In total, you're getting 8 different environments and challenges, but that's not counting the bonus level. And don't worry, I didn't include any footage from it. It's a nice surprise. Each world is based upon different components you'll find in the new generation of consoles. The first world I checked out was a jungle-themed world that was centered around the GPU, which is your graphics processing unit. And basically it takes all the graphics and does all the rendering, processing, and lighting for your console. Having some educational background in computers is very nice because, they kind of give some Easter eggs for those of us that kind of know what we're looking for in that regard. Sprinkled everywhere around the level are Astro's friends, and many times they're imitating old PlayStation games and characters. It's funny to see a nice trip down memory lane while you're exploring. Like you've got Kratos sailing in the water, you've got Solid Snake hiding in a box, just to name a couple. The core gameplay loop itself consists of you checking out each world and traversing the environment about like you would with a platforming game like the 3D Super Mario titles, or some of the classics like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. There are enemies here and there, but all you have to do is just punch them once and they usually go down. Some enemies you have to wait for an attack before you can get to them, but that's about as complex as it gets. While you're exploring, it's always wise to investigate every nook and cranny, because you'll find puzzle pieces and artifacts in each level. Usually it's 4 puzzle pieces and 2 artifacts per level. I promise you won't find all of them in the first playthrough, so you can just jump into the levels independently after the fact and get what you missed out on. On that note, this is where I got to try out the new help system offered by PS5. I used this feature during my second run, and I could open up hints and it would play little clips steer me in the direction to find my missing puzzle pieces and artifacts. It was even smart enough to show me the ones I was missing, not the ones I've already found. I'm not sure if this is a feature offered for every game, but it's a very nice tool to have for a collectathon and platforming games like this one. By now you're probably wondering why I'm obsessed over the puzzle pieces and artifacts, right? Well, there's a room you can access that almost serves as like a virtual PlayStation museum. Each artifact you find in the game is a product sold by Sony over the years that you can use for your various consoles. Just some examples include a PlayStation 3 console, the PlayStation iToy camera, PlayStation 2 network expansion device you'd put in the back of the PS2. It had the PlayStation 1 foldable screen, a PlayStation Vita cartridge, and just many more things like that. As for the puzzle pieces, those are used to assemble different murals around the wall. And those are nice trips down memory lane and highly detailed with Easter eggs if you've been playing PlayStation for multiple generations. It's an absolute nostalgia trip, kind of staying the theme of like my history with the PlayStation lately. By the way, this was a total coincidence. Like I said, I was surprised about the whole PS5 thing. That was like the cherry on top. Anyway, back to reading here. Another thing you collect all around are these gold PlayStation coins. By the time I finished my playthrough, I had about 4,000 of these coins, and I wondered what exactly these are for. Don't worry, they have a use. So within this room I've been talking about is a slot machine. You spend 100 coins to pull the lever, and it spits out either a puzzle piece, an extra artifact, a crumbled up can, or some statues that kind of go in the room. Essentially, it's a gacha machine, G-A-C-H-A, gacha, like you see in Japan, that you used to put a quarter in and you'd get a toy out like when we were kids. But what's funny is that many games these days are putting these random gacha mechanics into their games so that people are incentivized to burn real money on a chance to get some unique cosmetic for your game. It's a shady practice, but I feel that developers are being tongue-in-cheek with this whole machine in this game. Now I'm going to go back and discuss, I'm going to go back to my discussion about the levels and wrap that real quick. 3 of the other zones are themed a lot like the GPU jungle is. One level involves the cooling fans. As you can imagine, it's set in an icy environment. Another level is about memory, and it's a cloud-based world. And then you have the SSD Speedway, which is your hard drive, and it's all about fast traveling data. For people that don't have a hardware or software background, it kind of defines some of these buzzwords you hear both Sony and Microsoft throw around while they market these consoles. With everything being said, I still have not covered what makes this game unique and stand out from many others in the platform and collectathon genre. This game is the perfect tech demo for the DualSense controller that comes with the PS5. When the PS5 was first revealed, I noticed in terms of hardware and performance, it was basically equal with the Xbox Series X. The main thing that will end up setting these consoles apart will be the games made exclusively by both Sony and Microsoft, because those studios will know how to get that technology to work, most optimal with their machines, if that makes sense. So you can tell Sony wanted to differentiate themselves from the Xbox with their controller. With the DualSense controller, they wanted to offer things like adaptive triggers that have programmable amounts of resistance built into them. By default, the triggers are easy to press like normal, but when Astros had you flying in a space, oh my gosh. Okay, so here in the article I'm reading real quick, don't worry, I typed it up myself. Here in the article it says, by default, the triggers are easy to press, but when Astros had you flying in a space shit or in a monkey shit. I meant to put suit, that's hilarious. Anyway, Astros, the game, had you flying around in a space suit or in a monkey suit. You could feel the tension change in the triggers and become more hard to press. This feature is nice for racing games like Gran Turismo as well, because you can feather the throttle and brake instead of the triggers going from 0 to 100. Another aspect of the controller is the pinpoint rumble. I'm not sure really what else to call it, but back in the day, if you got one of those third-party like transparent controllers, you could see through them and they'd have those like 2 rumble motors in your controller handles, and that's how it would do all your vibrations. With the DualSense controller, the vibrations and rumbles have a lot more variety to them and are a bit more pinpoint throughout the controller. In Astro's Playroom, you'll notice this when you're walking on each type of surface. It has its own faint rumble depending on snow, sand, grass, sludge, or whatever. It almost simulates that experience of walking on those surfaces. Hence DualSense. The controller also has the same touchpad that you're probably familiar with on the PS4 controller. Functions very similar, and Astro showcased how well it does responding to your gestures by having you control Astro in a ball. One level you had to use the touchpad to steer the ball and get it to move for the whole level as you collected things and explored the map. It's quite fun once I got the hang of it. Another common feature they migrated from even the PS3 controller was the gyroscopic motions. It's similar to the Nintendo Switch when you aim a bow in Zelda, or use your controller to solve a puzzle in that game specifically. But with Astro's Playroom, there's a level where you aim the controller and it'll send you to the air and you start paragliding. You use the controller to steer the glider wherever you need to go. I noticed in Gran Turismo you can even use the gyroscopic motions to steer your steering wheel, duh. Or you can use it to send a disparaging message to Neil's Comics and Video Games in the PlayStation chat function. Of course, the controller also has a built-in speaker, and it works about the same as the PS4 controllers does. Just adds a bit more local sound to your footsteps and the like. The last key feature I noticed was that a new addition to the DualSense controller was that it had a built-in microphone. While playing Astros, you can use it by blowing into it at certain points, and it will spin a pinwheel to access somewhere or transport you. So when you consider everything I mentioned above, I think the unique experience of Astro's Playroom is that it is the one game I've tried so far that does a great job of taking advantage of each tool Sony has programmed in their new controller. If you didn't play Astros, you would think it's about like a PS4 controller with a touchpad and a speaker and the light, but I think this is a great game that just shows what we'll get to experience down the road as Sony puts out more exclusive games for their controller. I would highly recommend this game, especially since it comes pre-installed with the PlayStation 5. It's a free game. And I think this should be the first game you try out while you let some of your other games you want to play install in the background. I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed this review. This is White Mojo Wolf signing out of here. Bye.